Hello everybody, welcome back. It's Cape Rugby TV time. Every Wednesday we take a look at what's happening in the world of Western Province Club Rugby. Great to have you along. Before we get the ball rolling tonight, big thanks of course to our sponsors on board with us, Score Energy Drinks. You win yourself a case of Score during the course of the show. I'm holding in my hand here the 500ml Guarana Double Shot Crush from Score. As I said, we'll do the Spot the Ball competition a little bit later. You will see how you can enter that competition. Of course, MChem 24-hour pharmacy down the corner of N1 and Durban Road, and Thorburn Security Solutions, your one-stop shop for event organizing, sports sponsorship, and the list goes on in terms of how Thorburn can help you with your eventing, specifically for sport codes. Right, folks, well, it's a big show for us this evening. As you know, a lot of sport at least the clubs have now settled the top six as well as the bottom of the logs. So now we start looking at what's going to happen in the top six competition, who's going to make those top two, as well as we take a look at who is going to be relegated and has to play off in 13th spot. So coming up tonight, we're going to show you highlights of the Brackenfell versus SK game, Marties and Tigerberg, and UCT up against False Bay. And then we'll take a look at your logs, results, and fixtures to make sure that you don't go away. So as I said, before we get the ball rolling, let me introduce you to my panel members then this evening. Jerome Parvater, welcome back.
Yeah, JP, thanks. Good to be back, and some interesting results over the weekend. So things are looking good for some clubs and not so good for other clubs.
Yeah, well, we'll take a look at that. Faisal Felton, welcome back.
Good evening, JP. Good evening, listeners. Always good to be back. Another exciting week.
It is an exciting week. It's all coming down to the wire. Well, it's not down to the wire anymore. We've got the wire now, I suppose. Yeah. Folks, let's get the ball rolling then. As promised, of course, our first game of our highlights, Brackenfell up against SK Warmers. The following features brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Thorburn Security Solutions.
Invincible.
This feature was brought to you by MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy, Score Energy Drinks, and Thorburn Security Solutions. Right, there we go, folks. So full-time score then, 43-7 to Brackenfell. Jerome, you managed to have a look at the game there. Brackenfell just too much in the day.
Yeah, old story, JP. If the forwards of Brackenfell were dominating SK in the set pieces, I see in the scrums, they struggle in the scrums, SK, also in the lineouts a couple of times. So if you struggle with that in the set pieces, then obviously you're always on the back foot. That's why they could score all that points.
Yeah, Fazal, in terms of the importance, this game was particularly important for SK Warmers this weekend. They needed to get the points to get into the 13th spot in the log. Is that locked down now from a log perspective for the leagues, Super League A, B, and C? We have a pretty good understanding now of who's getting promoted and relegated. And what happens in 13th position?
Yeah, I think we're sort of close to, we always say I think we're almost there, but it seems that, we need another week basically to decide and determine in terms of the lockdown, especially in Super League A, with regards to who finishes on top. I think this weekend, we have a possibility of 3 teams possibly ending in, number 1 position. So, it's down to the wire. I think from SK Warmers, I think this past weekend was a vital game. They should have, they needed to win this game in terms of trying to, have a bit of hope in terms of survival.
But it's also one of those scenarios. I mean, we've been through this every year, that there's no official announcements get made until until everything is concluded, right?
No, definitely. I think, on Saturday I had a number of calls with regards to what the permutations as to what's going to happen. But like you say, nothing is sort of guaranteed. I think this past weekend there was a few upsets in some of the other leagues, So again, it boils down to it's down to the wire. This coming weekend is going to be key. It's going to be crucial, because in that top 6 position, anybody can in that 3 and 4 position, or 1 and 2, should I say. So the quarterfinals is not set yet in terms of who plays who.
Jerome, from a standard point of view, we've been through a very interesting year of time now. If you look 2018, 2019, you've seen some really high standard rugby. This last 2 years has been difficult for clubs to find their feet, carry on the momentum. What's your feeling in general? Are you happy with the standard that you've seen, or have there been difficulties for clubs this year?
JP, I think the standard definitely is not up there where we normally could see. You can see certain clubs that you expect that's a bit higher are not there, because they're not higher, but the amount of games that they lose and the amount of effort that they put in. So you can see those clubs who put in the work during that COVID time, they basically the clubs up there. And then, but it's tough and it was a tough season. So definitely you can see there's a change in seasons.
Well, we've got still quite a long way to go, folks, this year before we say that it's over. We've got a lot of rugby still coming up. We'll take a look at that a little bit later during the course of the show. But of course, we'll take a look at the logs, the results and the fixtures as well. But let's take a break, and when we come back from the break, we're going to take a look at the match between Marties and Tygerberg. This was a pretty big game as well over the weekend. In fact, all the games are important at the moment. We'll be back in a sec. Don't go away. Right, folks, welcome back. We are talking about the dynamics of club rugby at the moment. Faz, you just brought up, folks, we're going to take a look at the Marties versus Tygerberg game in a second, but you just brought up an interesting point in terms of the universities, that if you are playing in the Varsity Cup, just explain it to me again in the way that you just explained it, that because I think I need to probably be a teacher or a professor or something to understand the rules of the Varsity Cup. But is there a cut-off time at which you can and can't play?
Yeah, I think it's latching on what Jerome was saying, and I tend to agree with what Jerome was saying with regards to, if you look at the universities, and I think the discussion that we had was about, you can see the guys in the off season that have been busy, the CrossFits, the false plays, these guys that have been active in that there. And the one question that also springs to mind is the universities. And as long as I've been there now for over 20 years, you've never seen a varsity team sort of like, so to speak, Marties that's, struggling a bit, than they were this year. And I think Jerome has sort of led light to the factor as well that, you know, a lot of the older guys, when I say older guys, the guys that don't qualify for Varsity Cup are not available. And which means in the past, you had a mixture. And I think that's the one, you know, when it comes to club rugby, that's the one, the strong point is the experience, you know, as opposed to the youth that's playing varsity. And now at the moment you're sitting, because of COVID, a lot of the guys haven't had the opportunity to continue playing once they finish playing, you know, in 2019.
Is there a cut-off time for or first year, second year with regards to Varsity Cup, Jerome, or is it just anybody at university?
Yeah, it is. University is still, but age is 25.
Okay,
so
there's
basically the cut-off. Yeah, it's 25. But I also think, Faisal, if you look at like, we talk about Varsity Cup. It is a great competition. But if you look at sort of the universities playing in province now, just talk about Western Province, it shows how tough our league is. Because we basically, I mean, UCT, Martins are doing well in Varsity Cup. I mean, they're always in the finals, whatever. But come to the league, it's not an easy ride that they're going to, you expect.
But you also think about the resources. I mean, at Western Province Rugby, you guys have, over the last few years, had specific programs for club coaches. Universities don't have specific programs for club coaches. Those universities rely on you for the expertise and skills and education. Am I right? I mean,
yeah, but still, no. I mean, they get everything. I mean, the university, they're still part of the Western Province club.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is that there's a system.
So they get the same as the normal club.
Normal. But I mean, I tend to agree. I think with Jerome, and I mean, like I said, I've experienced in the past, you know, the previous guys, that administrators, that Marties, they always said, you know, the biggest mistake that you ever make is, you know, not participating or playing in the league competition, because it definitely adds a different dynamics to you know, the competition.
It's real club rugby.
It's proper. JP, I think it's a different ball game. If you look at varsity and stuff, it's the running, it's the throwing. Jerome will tell you a lot more in terms of, you know, the space and stuff. But when you come into club rugby, it's more psychologically. You know, you're slowing the game down. You've got the older guys that's dictating how they play.
The fact that you're playing different venues, you're playing, you know, sort of close to home derby matches. People know each other. There's a whole different feeling to the sort of.
But JP, you're also talking, like, if you just look at the scores in Varsity Cup, I mean, it's like 45, 43. Here you can see, like you were talking about structures. The clubs are doing, I mean, they work on defense. They work on, where at Varsity Cup it seems like it's free for all, because each team, even if it's not a good team, they can score 5 tries.
But they also have a different scoring system, extra bonus points and player of the. Does that not have an impact? Well, anyway, guys, we're running tight on the clock here. We're going to definitely talk more about this. One of the matches we then went to go and look at this weekend was Marties up against Tygerberg, and this was, of course, another important match where still the struggle for the top 6 was absolutely critical. Tygerberg still has a game in hand, though, but let's take a look at some of the highlights here. Marties Tygerberg. The following features brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy, and Thorburn Security Solutions. This feature was brought to you by MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy, Score Energy Drinks, and Thorburn Security Solutions. Yeah, so Tygerberg walking, travelling at least to Marty's there to play at the Craven Stadium. Marty's walking away 26-14 up against Tygerberg. Let's quickly take a look where we stand then on the logs in Super League A. False Bay sitting at number 1. Unimil sitting at number 2. These are now locked down. Those are your first and second positions on the log, followed by Durbell, UCT, and Marty's. In fact, Faisal, I'm speaking under correction, they're not locked down because there is still a possibility this week with Durbell playing, who are currently on 55 points, and their Unimil is on 58. If they get points in the bag, considering the last couple of games, and like you said, 3 teams, Durbell, UCT, and Marty's, all in with a shot of making it into second place.
Yeah, I think, the key thing is now we're not looking at the points, we're now looking at the points difference. And if you look at the points difference, looking at this weekend, if all those teams get 5 points, you're sitting in a situation where all of a sudden, UCT possibly ending in I think 4th position or 3rd position.
Well, in fact, the way that we look at this now, I mean, like you said, if Durbell win this weekend with 5 points, with a big enough points difference, they could in fact take first place on the log.
Yeah.
Jerome, it's getting really interesting.
Yeah, it is. And Durbell and Marty's are playing this week.
Yes.
So I think Marty's can only end 53 to go to 53, and Durbell is in 55. But Durbell has got a lot to play for because they can end first. Or they can end second.
Second, But I think
if they get 4 points, they end second. If they get 5 points, they can get.
But I think the thing is, Jerome, as much as we're looking at that, we're also looking at not so much who's ending 1, but we're looking at who's ending number 4 and number 5. Yeah. So for Marty's and that,
why are you looking at number 4 and 5?
I'm looking at 4 and 5 as much as you're looking at who you're going to play. I think when you're looking at from a coach's perspective, I think it's also looking at which team you want to play in the quarterfinals. That's what you also got to look at. I know Jerome, when he looks at it, he will also be saying, we want Marty's to win or we want UCT, because then the permutation in terms of who you're going to play. Remember, the 1 and 2 is automatically semi-finals, so you want to end in that 1 and 2, but at the same time, in position 4, 5, and 6, it's also key and crucial. 3, 4, 5, and 6.
All right. So, folks, we're going to take a break. When we come back from the break, our conversation continues. We'll still be taking a look at these fixtures that are coming up this weekend in Super League A. It's all very exciting. Don't go away. Back in a sec. Welcome back, folks. Right. So, well, of course, if you're watching right now, you're watching Cape Rugby TV here on Cape Town TV, DSTV channel 263. Tell your friends, tell everybody out there, in fact, to watch the show. As much as we talk rugby, we also have a great entertaining angle here on the show. It's just great fun to watch and have some fantastic dialogue. And, of course, club rugby played everywhere in Western Province. In fact, I'll be very surprised if there's not a club rugby field near you somewhere where one of your neighbours is actually enjoying a club rugby game somewhere every weekend. Faisal, the question that we had was, that we were talking about during the break, was in terms of your top 6, who plays who? If we just run through this formulation again, we know first and second place are guaranteed a semi-final. Explain that to us.
So automatically from this weekend after the first round, position 1 and 2 advance to semi-finals.
Right.
And then position 3, 4, 5, and 6 will play so-called quarterfinals. So in other words, number 3 will play against number 6, number 4 plays against 5.
So 3's up against 6, 4's against 5. Yeah. So sort of the top and bottom of the bottom first 4 and 5 and 6. Yeah. Jerome, the question around, I think, that everybody asks is, and you've always said to us, play as much rugby as possible. You've said that in the preseason, play as many friendlies as you can. This has been your sort of motto, is if you can get on the field and play rugby. The fact that the 2 teams who are going to end in 1 and 2 are going, their big bonus, so to speak, is that they get a guarantee, which means they don't have to play in the quarterfinals. They go straight into the semi-finals. But that means that there will be either 1 or 2 weekends where they don't play rugby. How much of an impact will that be? Will it be positive in terms of resting or negative because you're not on the field?
I think this stage of the season, it can be a plus, because if you have an injured guy who maybe needs a week, or 1 or 2 injured guys, key players, that week is good for them to rest. And then obviously, if you don't play and all your squad is you can fix stuff that you don't have time for. You can work hard during that week.
The thing though that I'm asking is we can't compare club rugby to professional rugby. In the club rugby space, the guys practice twice a week, Tuesday, Thursday. Is that not a loss that you run the risk of the players losing the feel for the game?
That's why I say, JP, for me, this time of the season, it's the end of the season, it's good because they've done their hard work and they've done everything. That's why I say it's important to play as much rugby in the beginning of the season. If you have a chance to play a friendly game, play that friendly games. But I think this scenario now where we're at now is it's the end of the season. The guys done everything, so they can brush up on things. And I mean, they work hard. I mean, there's a lot of teams that played a lot of games. The guys in the top, they've played a lot of games.
Yeah.
But I also think that the guys might have a bit of an advantage. The guys who's playing. So some teams might prefer. Look, they don't mind if they lose this week. Because then they have some extra games,
time.
Or extra games, or they rather want to play than rest. So
but I mean, I think, Jerome, I think this is where it comes in. I think it's something that we've also been looking at. You know, when you're looking at club rugby, it's about always getting that advantage. Like we mentioned earlier on, you got the off season, you got the training, you got the CrossFit. Now you have an opportunity. It's all about how you utilize that time off. And I think the key thing is now the advantage in terms of assessing your opposition and opponents that you are going to meet. And you have this 1 week, like I say, in terms of recovery, in terms of play injuries that you can work with. But at the same time, it's how you utilize that time. You know, you got you got time for training extra and that there, but in terms of game plan, tactic and stuff, I think you have a nice opportunity in which, to have that added advantage and extra.
Let's take a look now, folks. UCT up against False Bay this past weekend. We'll take a look at the first half, and we'll tell you what's happening at MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and then we'll take a look after the break in the second half. Don't go away. The following feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Thorburn Security Solutions. This feature was brought to you by MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy, Score Energy Drinks, and Thorburn Security Solutions. Right, so folks, there, halftime score then, False Bay 13-9 over UCT. Jerome, your thoughts so far on first half?
Look, the first half, we can see UCT was defending well. False Bay had the ball the whole time, but I must say the defense of the young guys of UCT was quite good. I didn't see a try in this first half. But the defense was very good from their side. False Bay attacking well, but False Bay attacked well, but they couldn't get through.
Guys, I'm going to just shift for a second before we go into the break. MChem 24-Hour, folks, 24-Hour Pharmacy, as you can see behind me there, in all its glory. Of course, also official partner to Western Province Rugby, at least pharmacy to Western Province Rugby. This is where the players go to go get their medicine. In fact, it's not that far from the High Performance Centre in Bellville, MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy. Have you been there? You should get down there. In fact, MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy should be your first choice if you need anything. In fact, and the reason I say if you need anything is because they pretty much have everything. Not only medicine, that one normally would think of pharmacies for, but when you go to MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy, they have orthopedic section where they can deal with orthopedic and surgical requirements such as braces and strapping and wheelchairs and pretty much everything that you need in orthopedics and surgery. Upstairs they have the sports supplement zone, fantastic brands, great prices, best advice. They've got a travel clinic, there's a fantastic coffee shop and restaurant, and of course the dispensary. But folks, I think you should also know that MChem is open 24 hours a day with free parking. There's an ATM upstairs. What more do you want? MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy, Mr. Malach, Lee and Joel and the team there, always striving for the gold standard. They've got, and by the way, if you need something and you go there, and it's not perhaps available, then they will do their best to find it for you. It's always fantastic, helpful staff at MChem, always there for you. Folks, we'll take a break. When we come back, we carry on talking club rugby. Back in a sec. Welcome back, folks. Before the break, we were taking a look at the highlights of the match between False Bay and UCT. Jerome, of course, UCT had home ground advantage. Before we give away the actual score itself, how much of a difference would it have meant for UCT to be playing at the Green Mile? They always, like Faisal said, clubs look for every advantage, and home ground advantage is particularly important.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially this time of the year, it's a massive advantage for UCT with the wind and this type of weather to go and play the Green Mile. It's not easy, so they always have an advantage there. If you look at every team go there, you know you can be a strong team, but you don't know that conditions, you're in trouble.
Right, folks, let's take a look at our highlights, at least the second half in the match between False Bay and UCT. The following feature is brought to you by Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy, and Thorburn Security Solutions. This feature was brought to you by MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy, Score Energy Drinks, and Thorburn Security Solutions. Right, folks, so there we go. False Bay 20 points to 16 over UCT. Jerome, that was the final score. Of course, this locks False Bay into first place. Well, at least, although we did say earlier on it could still change. Yeah. But False Bay will be happy to have gotten that result. I think a lot of people were wondering whether or not UCT was in fact going to end up on top, because there could have been a swing this past weekend. But False Bay will be now happy with the result, but also a little bit nervous because some of the points are going to be coming from the other teams.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've said about Durban and maybe UCT still have an opportunity to pass them. But I mean, that's a great result, like we said, to go to the Green Mile and to get points there. That's what False Bay wanted to have. I mean, though it's just a 5 points or 4 points difference, but it's a good win for False Bay at the end.
Yeah, right. Well, as you guys know, every week I give you an opportunity to not win a case of Score energy drinks, where we spot the ball. Of course, folks, we have made sure that our panel members do not enter the competition, and if you guys don't enter the competition, do you? I'm just checking. No, okay, we're just making sure. Well, we're going to give you a chance anyway to spot the ball. I know that Faisal seems to have some sort of magic skills here. Right. So I'm going to be making sure very carefully we can't see everything. Of course, in shot there, False Bay. Who we got else in there in that picture? False Bay Marty's? Marty's wearing blue jerseys, is that right? Right, so folks, your options are A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3, C1, C2, and C3. Right then, Jerome, would you like to give it your shot there?
Yes, for the last 3 weeks I was bad.
Last 6 weeks.
All right, well, no, it is a one-day game today.
Okay,
so
I'll go C2.
No
C2, Jerome is going with C2. He's really taking a wild one here. And Faisal?
I think I'll take C3.
C2 and C3. Now, I will tell both of you why I'm not going with that, because you see the shadows under the feet there? They haven't changed. So I've got a feeling that it's not in C2 and C3. And I think that our producer, Renzo Bortman, has gone particularly sneaky this weekend and made it as obvious as possible so that we don't choose the obvious one. So I'm actually going to go with B2. B2, and I would probably be wrong because Renzo, show us which one is it. All right. Where on earth is this ball? Okay, and the answer is it's in C2. Okay. All right, I don't honestly know how both of you again managed. 6. All right, well, you two of you are going to have to then virtually share a case of Score.
Did you also say C2?
No, yeah, both of you went for C2. I mean,
no, Faisal, but you can't. Faisal went
C3. I had to take C3.
Did you say C3?
The heart said C2, right, but unfortunately I had to take C3.
Yeah. All right, folks. This is what happens when panel members give the other panel member a running start, so to speak. Congratulations to Nathan Maxwell. Nathan, you are this week's winner of a case of Score energy drinks. Folks, you will see the Score logo behind me there, and we'll be in touch with you, Nathan, and you can collect your case of Score. When we come back from the break, we're going to take a look at the logs, the results, and the fixtures across all the divisions, that is, of where we stand and what's coming up this weekend. And, of course, some of the results from last weekend. Don't go away. Back in a sec. Welcome back, everybody. Yes, as my panel members have said, now we're in the home stretch. We're wrapping up the show. Time for us now to see where we stand at the moment in the world of club rugby. Let's take a full snapshot of all the divisions, the leagues, the results, the logs, and the fixtures. Let's start off with the results from the past weekend in Super League A. Big win for Villagers over NTK. As you saw, False Bay beating UCT 20 points to 16. Marty's with a win over Tygerberg. UWC Paul match this weekend. Of course, that would be a bye this weekend, or that's a skip. A skip, Faisal. But of course, the points would go to UWC.
UWC,
right? And then, of course, Bracken fell with a win over SK Warmers. We had a fairly lengthy discussion about this, but let's take a look now where we actually stand finally on the logs. We'll take a look at the top 6 and the bottom 4 or 5. First, second, third, fourth, and fifth, and sixth is False Bay, Unimel, Durban, UCT, Marty's, and Hamilton's. Lockdown. So, Faisal, that's it. Those are your top 6 in Super League A. All right.
Guaranteed top 6.
Guaranteed top 6, but we can still see some shifts this weekend when we see Durbell, UCT and Marties, who still have a game in hand this weekend, play. Yep. Let's quickly take a look at the fixtures. In the fixtures that we're referring to here specifically, folks, is Paarl is up against Hamlets, Marties take on Durbell, Tygerberg take on UCT, and SK Warmers take on UWC. Jerome, so the games that are important there, or all the games of course important, but Durbell travels to Marties. It's critical for both of them.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's a must win for Durbell to if they want to be in the top 2, and it's a must win for Marties if they don't want to play out. So it's that. But it's just the interesting thing there, JP. We're talking about the top 6, but Faisal, do you think the bottom 3 is, if you look at NNK is done, and as that.
Let's quickly take a look at the logs. So I'm going to help you guys out here. Let's quickly take a look at the logs, the bottom 3 then. NTK's played all of their games. They're on 15 points. Paarl still have a game in hand, and SK Warmers still have a game in hand, which, Faisal, in theory, the only change that we could see on the log there is if Paarl still gets some points and move on over Hamlets. I think 8 points, they would... Is it too late?
I think it's too late, Japes. The maths is a bit. What's name? I think if you look at it now at the moment, sort of NTK survived. Yeah. The last 2 at the bottom is sort of definitely going down. I think we're coming back to that. You know that challenge that we mentioned earlier on. You know the big challenge now for NTK is basically waiting to see who they're going to play against in terms of the loser of that semi-final. But I think the one thing is also is the gap that you have now. In terms of planning and preparation to when you play that promotion relegation match, which probably be probably in the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Right, folks, we've spoken a lot about Super League A now. Of course, as you know, Super League B has been, again, a league. I don't know, some people call it the League of Death. It's been always close. Let's take a look at the results from this past weekend, and then we'll show you the log. St. George's with a win over Primrose. All Saints 27-6 over Young Peoples. Lunga went down to Hands and Hearts. Belleville beat Busy Bees 2019. What a narrow margin. Vineyards went down to Belha, and then Collegians, they went down to Scottsdene this past weekend. Jerome, specifically what jumps out there for me is the narrow margin between Belleville and Busy Bees, 1 point.
Yeah, I don't know. Something's not I would say not 100% at Belleville, because they're struggling in the home ground. Against Busy Bees, they could have lost that game. Then they were in serious trouble. So I don't know what, but something's not 100%.
Let's take a look at the log quickly to give you guys a bit of context for the fans to understand the logs. Helderberg at the top, Hands and Hearts, but specifically what we're talking about there is Belleville's at position number 6, and Busy Bees is at position number 14. Yeah. So what we saw there, Faisal.
So I think coming back to you must give credit to Busy Bees. They were hungry for that victory, because that victory would have basically sort of given them a bit of hope with regards to playoffs and that there, and having opportunity, in terms of survival. But I think, looking at it again, Jerome, if you look at Belleville, this weekend past, there wasn't necessarily anything in that game. Whether they wanted to lose it or they lost the game, they would still be 6th. I think, I don't know, but maybe, there was a matter of resting some players. I don't know. But I think, this past
wouldn't
weekend...
have changed anything.
I wouldn't have changed anything, but I think Busy Bees is basically they were hungry for their victory. Yeah. That's it.
Well, the interesting thing is that this coming weekend, and we'll take a look at the fixture now, Busy Bees plays against Vineyards. Now, Busy Bees has got 1 game in hand this weekend. There's 13 on the log. Scottsdene is sitting at 18 on the log. That's 5 points.
So, again, it's another game. Busy Bees have to win. But I think what they have to win it for 5 points. I think where it counts in their favour is the points difference.
Well, they'd have to win it by 5 points and 80-point margin.
No. They've got a better points. I think in the negative they are minus 73.
All right, so they've got a
better points difference. So they've come up with another bit of hope this weekend. They probably think it's a lot. I wouldn't say easier. Any team is difficult, but it'll be something that's within their grasp. Playing against Vineyards.
Right. So Busy Bees has got a shot still to survive, to get into position 13.
I also think that the result for Scottsdene against Collegians, that was a massive one, because that might save Scottsdene.
100%.
Now, that was, of course, the Scottsdene with their win over Collegians, and we know Collegians has been getting stronger and stronger as they've been heading into the end of the season.
I think, you know, if you look at it, you know, come Saturday past, you would have, because Scottsdene would have thought they've done everything in their power to be safe. And now they've got to wait another week in order to find out whether they survive or whether they, you know, got to play off.
But it's interesting that we see some of the clubs step up under crunch time. They find their spirit, they find their character. Scottsdene did it.
JP,
that's the credit.
Again, I want to say, if you look at the format, you know, everybody's been asking about, you know, home and away, and, you know, team finish top goes up. I think what we're seeing again is the format of our competition. As much as there's excitement at the top, there's excitement at the bottom.
Yeah.
Everybody is playing up until the end. There's no easy games. I mean, this weekend the league is decided by the last match. So that for us is, you know, that's great.
But also heads up to Collegians, because they have to travel. 100%. They play all the games away, so heads up for them. They're surviving.
That's what I'm saying, is they've done an incredible job. But let's take a look then at the top 6, then lockdown. Terrible word for us to use, but nevertheless, it is lockdown. Helderberg sitting at number 1 on the log, followed by Hands and Hearts, St. George's, Bella, All Saints, and Belleville. All those games are finished. The only last game in the top 6 there to be played is All Saints, and this coming weekend, they, in fact, will be travelling to wherever Collegians has managed to find a club to host. Again, as Jerome said, Collegians not home ground currently not available, and Collegians really, considering they don't have a home ground that is currently active, Collegians travelling and asking clubs to assist. Am I right, Faisal? They're currently asking clubs to help.
100%. Yeah. And JP, I think, you know, you must commend and take a hat off to those clubs that are helping and assisting, because I think, you know, it's always difficult when you don't have that home ground, and, you know, where we can, we need to help and assist.
All right, folks, let's take a look then at the results in Super League C this past weekend. It was a win for Albions over Kraaifontein, 18-14. CPUT with a win over Blue Stars. Blue Jets beat Macassar 27-19. Eerste Rivier drawing with Strand United, and Strand beating Rangers. Interesting results there, gentlemen. Eerste Rivier and Strand United to draw with each other. Pretty close. I mean, you know, talking about, again, Strand United stepping up.
I think, again, if you look at that bottom 3, you can see how close it is. And I think, you know, this past weekend, you know, the information I got was that the Eerste Rivier Strand United game was literally won on time. I mean, not on one, but drawn on time. Eerste Rivier scored on time, basically to draw that match. And I think, you know, Strand United will feel a bit hard done by. But again, you know, the points are so close. They've got another opportunity this week. Hopefully, you know, they can make the best of it.
Yeah. So some really interesting results there. Jerome, if we look at the top 6 there now, we can still see movement in the top 6. Strand is sitting on 59 points. CPUT is on 56 points. They still have games to play. Macassar's on 54. They will, of course, could shift up or down depending on the matches between Kylemore and Rangers and Kraaifontein. So, Jerome,
depending what
this entire 6
again, what happened with Macassar, because CPUT can end first, but if Macassar in Strand, then it's crazy.
Can change.
Again, the top half and the bottom half, it's again so close. I think if you look this weekend again, you know, look at Elsie's, you look at Strand United. Elsie's have to win, Strand United have to win. You've got other teams that's basically sitting there and waiting for the outcome. So that top section, that 1 to 6, JP, it's still undecided as to who plays who.
All right, so folks, it's all down to the wire. Fixtures then this coming up then this weekend. Strand United take on CPUT, Kraaifontein take on Rangers. Strand play Albions, and Kylemore up against Elsie's Rivier. Promotion League results last weekend saw Blakes with a win over Laguna and Silurians drawing with Atlantis. And the Promotion League logs at the moment, folks, still sees Van der Stel sitting at number 1 and Hamburg sitting at number 2. You'll, of course, remember that these clubs had a bye last weekend, so there's been no change in the logs for the past 7 days. Fixtures, though, in the Promotion League this weekend see Silurians up against Hamburg. Masiphumelele take on Violets. There's going to be a bit of a, should we say, a return match there. And then Atlantis are up against Blakes. In the Paarl region is Lower Paarl up against Simondium. Young Gardens take on Violets Paarl. Parel United are up against Paarl Rangers. and Young Standards takes on Riverstone. Our Women's League is cracking along. It's a fantastic tournament. It is really going along nicely. Busy Bees are up against False Bay this weekend, or at least scored a win over False Bay this past weekend, 22-0. Kells River went down to Brackenfell. And then the Women's League logs. Let's quickly take a look there. Brackenfell is sitting at number 1. This is after 4 games. They are currently unbeaten. Busy Bees, 5 out of 3 games, or at least 3 out of 5 games. Blue Jets, Marties and Tigerberg and False Bay still have games in hands, as well as CPUT. And then, of course, sees a fantastic women's rugby competition on the cards. Faisal, you guys must be very proud of this league.
JP, we are ecstatic, if I must say so. I mean, if you look at the results, I think we mustn't look at the points and stuff. I think just the mere fact for us is having to see, you know, S12 on the field playing rugby, Kells River playing. It's all clubs that in the past never had teams. So for us, just having them on the field is fantastic. No,
it really is great. Jerome, thank you very much for joining us on the show. Always fantastic to have your expertise and your gees. We love it.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Thanks, Jerome and Faisal. Also great to have you on the show, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, JP. And I think, you know, before we close off tonight, you know, I just want to, you know, sympathize, you know, with the Stellenbosch Coronations Club, you know, for the past weekend. From the union side, you know, deepest sympathy and condolences, you know, to the club family, you know, one of the members that passed away.
Yeah, thanks, Faisal. Absolute tragedy, and on behalf of Cape Rugby TV, we also pass on our sincere condolences to the loved ones and family of player at Coronations, and of course we're all thinking of you. Folks, that's a wrap from us this evening. We'll see you again next week, same time, same place. And as always, have a fantastic rugby weekend. Bye-bye.